Is the light gonna fix it? Probably not. Probably not. I don't even know how to add people to the discussion, so hopefully I can figure that out too. Tate's in here, yay! Do you want to try and call in? We can talk about this. Present on screen. Kelly. Invite user. Invite. I'm just going to invite you. Yay, yay, yay! I'm so busy, guys. These days. It's good morning. It's really quite crazy. Like from quarantine times to how like go I am right now. I love it though. Because it's nothing that I'm dreading. It's just been fun stuff. Cannot complain at all. And the weather's been, I don't know, the weather's been really wet and rainy, which hasn't been fun, but it's warm and not too terribly hot. Oh shoot, I meant to bring something else we can talk about. I want to talk about Anne of Green Gables, but then I also want to, yeah, I heard it's like really hot everywhere on the East Coast and stuff. But I also want to talk about what we're gonna read after. We're gonna read next. What are we gonna read next? But let's finish talking about Anne of Green Gables first. Probably not the best music to listen to for this. Did you guys get the invite? I mean, you don't have to call in if you don't want to. But I just want to know if I'm doing everything on my end to facilitate you calling in. Turn off camera. Ooh, I didn't know you can do that. So you can call in and turn off your camera apparently. So you don't even have to be on camera. Okay. Totally fine. I will talk. Have any of you started the Netflix series yet? Ayla just binge watched it again, and she came to me yesterday. Dr. X, good morning. I'm gonna invite Dr. X, see if he wants to come in and talk about it or talk about anything life. She binged watched it, and she came to me and she was like, I'm so upset that that Netflix canceled Anne with an E. And really I am too. I was so enraged because the book for the time is very progressive as far as like like what was when Anne was like, why can't women be preachers? Why, Anne is like a natural feminist, which I think we all are. We're just kind of like drilled to be another way due to society or whatever. But in the Netflix series, which was filmed in Canada even, they have this whole, am I gonna spoil this? I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but they have they deal with race, they deal with indigenous, the whole indigenous like schools that North America had for a very long time. That comes up. Feminism comes up. She like Anne in the series like schools everybody on feminism. Um, anyway, cannot recommend it anymore. But it's like you have to wonder when they cancel shows like this, shows that have that make you think about like our history and like certain topics. It's like, why? And it was such a well produced series too. I won't go into it too much. Obviously, I can't spoil the main points because it does follow the book fairly well, fairly accurately, except they have these like offshoot storylines, which are almost, I mean, I would watch series. Yes, I'm talking about Anne with an E. I'm talking about Anne with an E. Dr. X, is that you?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, great.
Th-
I didn't know that I was in. This is the first time I'm
Awesome.
trying this.
I'm so excited. See, guys, you don't have to have your camera on to call in. This is amazing.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah, I
Can you
just wanted to
guys?
say, yeah, yeah, yeah. What?
Oh, I was just gonna ask if everybody else can hear you. Well, since this is like an experiment.
All right, all right. I just wanted to say good morning and that I miss you very much. I haven't heard your readings for a while, and I was thinking that today should be the start of something. And I heard that you are just finishing the book, and I'm sorry that I didn't get hooked into the narrative, but I'm looking forward for the next one.
Yeah, we're trying to decide what we want to read next. So if you have any suggestions, we're all ears over here. My schedule's kind of off for the next like 3 weeks. I'm
What are you
I'm on
doing?
I'm on Tuesdays and Thursdays instead of every day. But then like the first week of July I'll revert. I am doing a theater workshop that's put on by the university here. And normally every year they do this playhouse where they have it's a very big deal. They have like applications sent out all over the country and people like college students all over the country come and perform um, like all
Is
summer.
there a way that can be live streamed?
Oh, maybe. Do I want to do that and embarrass myself? Like embarrass myself royally? Because let me tell you, it's difficult. We have acting class, and then we have costume design class, and then we have dance class. And like yesterday, I felt like I had two left feet the entire time. And we're just doing basic stuff like jazz squares and basic like traveling moves and things. And I felt
Sounds interesting.
I feel so like awkward during
But
dance class.
this is your return to way to academia or to university in a way, no?
Jess is in here. In a sense, yeah, it's interesting to be on campus because I haven't been there. Oh well, good, Jess. I haven't been on this particular campus like spent as much time in a really long time. But when I go back to school, I'm going to a different school and different campus for a little while, and then I'm probably gonna return to this one for my master's. But it's interesting because people are like talking about this one particular building, and back in the 60s, Carbondale was very almost militantly progressive. Not almost, they were during like Vietnam and stuff. The students actually burned buildings down on campus in protest of Vietnam. And so we had to rebuild this one building, and they made it riot proof, the architecture. So when you go in, it's like, it's so confusing. You can't hardly ever find your class anywhere. You turn like so many turns, and then the windows are really narrow and up high, so you can't even get to the windows to like jump out or do whatever. So where do they stick all who do they stick there? All of the poets and writers were stuck in this building. So back in the day, like all of my classes were in this awful building. So anyway, that was funny to talk to other people who were like, this building looks like it is built, this is like some communist block building that was on campus. All the other buildings look super nice. I'm like, yeah, that's where they put the poets. So
Maybe
typical.
you can take. Maybe you can record some of that when you're there. You know, all the followers, all your followers want to see something that
You
is
guys want to
related to
see
what you're mentioning.
campus? I'll try. I'll
Yeah.
try. Maybe I'll record some rehearsal. But I did want to show you guys, not to go too off topic with Anne of Green Gables, but we're doing Shakespeare, and I learned I have taken so many Shakespeare classes. I've read probably every play of Shakespeare's. I'm not, maybe not, maybe not all of them, but most of the plays. And I learned something. Um,
What
I'm
did you learn?
learning so much with this theater workshop. One of the things we're doing is we are just doing Shakespeare like completely improv. Like they're handing us scripts blind. They're not telling us like, for example, yesterday we did Julius Caesar, like the stabbing scene, and they just passed out scripts, and I happened to be Brutus, which is kind of a major character
Yeah, yeah.
in that scene, and I didn't know who Caesar was. I didn't know who Mark Antony was. Nobody. They just hand the scripts out, and you're supposed to just act using just the text, Shakespeare text. And it's so interesting because I was never taught like the acting cues that were built into the text. I've just always read it from like an academic um, literature mind, and not, oh, I'm going to perform this. You know, I've always just focused on the story. And so anyway, I'm learning so much. I don't want to ramble on about
I'm
that,
so
but
envy. I'm so envy. I think you have a point there. That sometimes many of us, we just looked at the well at the literature, but we don't see the other aspect of acting and feeling that what Shakespeare wanted to show. So I think this is so great that you're doing that. I feel like doing it
it
as well.
it's a game changer. If I was teaching a class, if I was teaching a Shakespeare class, I think I would incorporate this method almost immediately, just because I think some people are much more kinetic. Like, I think, like, just talking to my dance instructor, for example, like, I think his brain is wired differently than mine. Like, and I'm probably in a good way. Like, he's more balanced. Both hemispheres are more balanced. I feel like I'm way more right brained. Anyway, I would have
But I think
incorporated this.
you can develop that.
Yes, yeah, definitely. That's why I see dance as like my growth area. Um, and I think it's going to help me just in my life, just moving around in my life and like take up space.
Dance
I don't know.
dancing haps now.
Um, but I would definitely introduce this way of reading Shakespeare immediately, because I feel like some people are born, you know, just more physical. And I think that would help them.
Do
Anyway,
Hamlet.
should we read Hamlet? I have so much. There's so many ways to interpret Hamlet. Do you guys want to read a Shakespeare play? And I can teach you this, what I'm learning.
Yay!
I
Yeah,
have.
that would be awesome.
I have. Oh, it'd be so fantastic if you guys can call in too, and like we can assign readings. We could just read Shakespeare the rest of the month until I'm back on every day. We should do that. Yes, let's do it. It's sorted. We figured it out in the first 15 minutes.
Yes. Great.
We'll do Shakespeare,
So
even
I
though
gotta
it's
let
so
you.
overdone. Huh?
I gonna let you read now.
Oh, okay. No, we're
So
not.
which is
We're
my
not
speed?
reading, but I'll let you go, and somebody else
Oh
can call
no!
in
So you're
maybe.
not reading?
No, we're just talking about the book because we're finished. There's questions in the back. I thought if things got stale, a little bit stale, I could ask the questions that are in the back of the book. But there's so much to talk about without having to rely on someone else's. Maybe there is questions about Ellen Montgomery. No, this is the author thing. Okay, maybe there's not questions, but discussion things. There's so much to talk about with this book, though. Have you seen the Anne with an E on Netflix, Dr. X?
No, no. I was just listening that you were mentioning this that there's something on Netflix. What is the name of the series again?
Okay, it's called Anne with an E. Let me type it in. Anne with an E. Oop, not R. E. So the book is a Canadian. This is a Canadian. Ellen Montgomery is a Canadian author. It was originally published in America though because nobody in Canada would publish it. But in Anne with an E, it's filmed in Canada. They have Canadian actors. Um, there's a. I was just saying they even go in a part like a side story that's not in the book about like the indigenous people that live in Canada at the time. So this is like at the turn of the 20th century.
How many
Um,
episodes there are?
Unfortunately, there's only 2 seasons. There's either 2 or 3 seasons, and Netflix canceled it because, like they do with all anything good and worthwhile to watch.
So
I do not have all of the
each
books.
season, how many episodes has does the season have?
Oh gosh, only like probably 6 to 8. It's not very many.
Oh, so
Um,
16 total is covering the whole book.
the whole
Oh, that's
book.
enough.
So I don't think it goes beyond the scope of the first book, but this is a series of books. In my opinion, I feel like this first one is the most magical one. Ellen Montgomery, the author, she got the American publisher kept wanting her to write more, more, more because capitalism, right? And so she was pumping out these books, and they just didn't have the spark that this book has. However, if you're into film rather than reading, which get your stories however you get your stories. If you're not a great reader, I feel like film and theater is another valid way to like think about stuff. Um, but there was a 1985 production of Anne of Green Gables, and I feel like it took like 9 years or some crazy long amount of time to film it. And back in the 80s, um, my sisters and I, who else remembers this production? It was like it was either a PBS or BBC Canada deal. But it went through all of the books. Like it's like Anne of Avonlea, Anne of Willow, whatever. Um, However many Anne you remember it and loved it. Yes. Oh my gosh. So you get the whole story. You get You get all of it. Like when Anne has children, like all of it. She's a full on adult. I don't remember the later parts, but I definitely remember watching the first part, like the whole beginning, like book part of it. It was so good. I had two sisters, so we watched stuff like that on repeat all the time. I would too. I think it's a good. I mean, watch Anne with an E. The other one, I haven't watched it in years. Also, we were very sheltered growing up, and my parents used to, my mom used to like record stuff off of the off of TV, but then like if there was a part that they didn't approve of, like language or some scene that they thought was untoward, same. And what was the actress that played Marilla, Kelly? She's quite famous. If there was some like untoward scene, she would dub over it. So like I watched Dances with Wolves, for example, the Kevin Costner, and like when I was an adult, I watched it again and I was like, this is a completely different movie than I remember it. Because there was whole scenes that my mom cut out. Craziness. Censorship. Dr. X, I don't want to talk your ear off, so if you need to go, that's fine. Just hang up if you if you need to. I feel like
All
I'm just
right, all
blah.
right. I
Thank you
just
so
I need to take a shower, but it was nice to listen to you, and
Yeah,
I'll
thank you
hope
so
I
much for
hope
calling
that
in.
but I hope that you can read Shakespeare in the coming days. I'll be
Yeah, let's
looking
do
forward
it.
to going
Haven't
and
I have not read any Shakespeare. I know it's so overdone. Um but
yeah,
I
but
feel like
sometimes it's good to go back to classics and also to bring new people and maybe new followers that at least that they know what you're talking about, and that can also
yeah,
set the stage for new stuff.
new perspectives on the text too. So always what I'm looking for.
Right, right.
Um
Well, have a nice morning, a nice day. I'll talk to you later.
all right, so good to
See you,
talk to you.
Kelly. Kate.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Um that was so lovely. Anybody else want to call in? I'll Who else is here? Is Andrew here? I don't know if he's here. He hasn't said anything if he is. What else? Have any of you looked into Ellen Montgomery as I know, doesn't he have a wonderful accent? Um, Ellen Montgomery, the author. Have you guys read about her or looked into her at all? There's a lot of similarities between and Ellen Montgomery, I think. Um, Obviously, there has to be, when you write something, I feel like, what are we listening to? I feel like there has to be. It's like having a child. It's going to look a little bit like you, right? When you write something. But this says she wrote 500 short stories and poems and had 20 novels published. So there could be like more that we don't know about, maybe in somebody's attic on Prince Edward Island, right? 19 of her novels are set on Prince Edward Island, and 6 of them feature Anne as the main character. And they're Anne of Avonlea, Anne of the Island, Anne of Windy Willows, Anne's House of Dreams, and Anne of Ingleside. Although Anne is her most famous and best-loved character, Maud, who is Ellen Montgomery, Lucy Maud Montgomery, always said that Emily Starr, who first appears in Emily of New Moon, was her personal favorite. I have not read anything else really. other than the Anne books, which, might be worth looking into too at some point. Um, LM, Lucy Maud Montgomery, ended up marrying a minister which was funny because in the, and I feel like I could be wrong about this, but I think that she wrote this novel and then got married, and she got married later. She always wanted to have children, and she got married at like 38, which, even now is a bit considered later in life. And then she went on to have 2 sons, I think. But the man that she married was a preacher, and he ended up being diagnosed with some mental, like really severe mental illness. I'm not sure what it is, but like his like caring for him was super difficult for her. He was like, I don't want to say bipolar, but there was periods where he was better than other periods. So like in his downtime, like the difficult times, it was really hard for Montgomery to write things because she had to care for him, and like he required really intensive care. And basically, she was the breadwinner. Colleen Dewhurst. Why do I think? Didn't she play in other things, or was that? Maybe I just watched it so much, Kelly, that I can only think of her in that. In my mind, she's played a bunch of other stuff. In my mind, she was very famous, but I could be wrong about that. Anyway, she ended up being the breadwinner of the family, which was a bit also scandalous and feminist, because not only was he a preacher, like he would go through these like years long periods where he was very, very unwell. So anyway, really interesting life. And she was also not shy about letting people know she didn't particularly like her husband, like that she married him to have children and does not like. I guess it's a reason to get married. And she ended up keeping a diary, like a very extremely detailed diary, like about her own inner life, for over 50 years. And $70, we don't have that kind of money to spend on a how much to rent it? Can we watch it all in one day? That's outrageous. $70? Give me a break. No wonder I haven't seen it since the good old days, or the old days anyway. Yeah, so Ellen Montgomery had kept these volumes and volumes of like a super specific detailed diary, and then she bequeathed the diary to somebody, like her friend. It was very like Emily Dickinson of her. She entrusted her diary to her daughter, or like a friend of hers or something, and asked that it be published. And you can read Ella Montgomery's diary, but it's obviously edited. You can't just publish 50 years worth of raw diary. I suppose you can. But yeah, one of the things that I would love to do is travel to Prince Edward Island. First of all, to see the house and see the island. But then also they have all of these original texts that you can go back to, and there's a society set up and things. Anyway, oh, she had 3 sons. She had 3 sons. One died at birth. What else do we want to talk about? Does anybody else want to call in? Do we want to move on to... Anyway, Ellen Montgomery had a really interesting life, but reading her diary, like, a lot of people realized how very unhappy, like, a person she was, and it had a lot to do with her different things, but like her relationship, her marriage, and which was unhappy, even though she put on a front about it, and also her relationship with the publishers, not exactly smooth. But I feel like her, like, real joy in life was her children. She made that clear. What else? She initially wrote Anne of Green Gables and sent it away. She was proud of it, and was rejected over and over and over and over again, and put it in a box in her closet, and it for a long time, at least a year. Brought it out, read it, and was like, this is good. This is good. I'm going to try again. This says that she received hundreds of fan letters, including one from Mark Twain, who called the book the sweetest creation of child life yet written. Imagine. Imagine getting a letter from Mark Twain. All right. It came to my attention just yesterday. Yeah. And it just, I don't know if you got the sensation like I did, but it really kind of felt like we're growing up a little bit with Anne as the book progresses. Like, the language is different. It's more flowery. It's more adult. It's like you grow up a little bit. You start out, an 11-year-old orphan girl, and then at the end you really feel like you've grown. And I think that has to do with her characters definitely grew, but then, like, everybody else in the book changes too. I just love it. Marilla changes. She, as Mrs. Lynde says, has gotten mellow. I feel like Mrs. Lynde got mellow too. Even Aunt Josephine changed and decided to let love in her heart, right? What was your favorite part? How would we start with that? Or continue with that? What was your favorite part, everybody? Most favoritist or memorable part, or part you hated? Or most suspenseful? There's so many. You don't have to pick the most, just pick one. Or the funniest part? I love how, yeah, I do too. And I love how I've read this a few different times, and I just oh, how adorable and sweet was that. The cabinet cupboard bosom friends. There's so many little bosom friend, yes. Oh, or kindred spirit. I think we should all use that. I think bosom friend and kindred spirit should replace the new like bestie that's going around. We should just say, walk up to people. Are you a kindred spirit? Anyway, I've read it a few times now, and it's like there's so many things that happens in it. It's hard to keep track of absolutely everything in it. So it's nice to be able to reread it and be surprised again. If that makes sense. I do have, really wind down here. I have a brunch I need to go to. I have to go to, but my new like post COVID. It's not post COVID. It's COVID is still happening, but man, my vaccinated friends are getting together these days. How about you guys? Are you enjoying yourselves yet? So I'm going to a brunch and then getting the kids second doses this afternoon. And then yeah, you're traveling now, Kelly, and visiting. And then everybody's coming over here. You're hesitant too? Yeah, it's not like a super huge amount of people, although I kind of burst that bubble with my vacation. When I went on vacation, I was in a crowd. I'm like, I guess we're gonna like hardcore test this vaccine today and see if it's legit. I mean, I'm feeling healthy, knock on wood. Not only am I feeling healthy, I'm feeling really good these days, and I hate to like put that out there and then backslidden. But I woke up at 6 and went for a run this morning, guys. I'm doing 2-hour dance classes on the other days. What? Who is this? Who am I? It's the summer. I just feel so invigorated in the summertime. Yeah, and a lot of my get together tonight will be out of doors, so hopefully, if weather permits, to reduce chances. There is a raspberry cordial recipe in the back here, and a pound cake recipe. Would you like me to read it? And then later, when you have the fast forward and pause feature going, you can write it down or just listen to me read out the ingredients and write it down and maybe try it for a get together. If I had thought about it prior to this, I would have done it for my thing today. As it stands, I think I'll probably just get some like frozen cake or something and thaw it out. Hope that's enough. All right, raspberry cordial ingredients, and they have grams in the metric system, but I'm American, and they have the cups and stuff in parentheses, and I have not gotten to the point where I can do the milliliters and grams and stuff in cooking. All right, so raspberry cordial ingredients: 4 cups frozen raspberries, 1 1/4 cup sugar, 4 cups boiling water, and the juice of 2 lemons. Sounds simple enough, right? Cook the sugar and raspberries in a saucepan on medium heat for around 20 to 25 minutes until the sugar has dissolved. Mash this mixture thoroughly, then pour through a strainer and throw away the pulp. Squeeze 2 lemons into the remaining mixture and stir. Add the boiling water and stir again. Leave the mixture to cool, then refrigerate a few hours. Pour and enjoy. And if this was an adult-themed Anne of Green Gables affair, that sounds like a perfect like syrup to make a raspberry cordial like cocktail. And I think I would use, I don't know, you could add vodka. You could add like a berry flavored vodka to it, but that does sound yummy, doesn't it? And also, if you boiled it and reduced it some more, it could be like a thicker syrup you could use on, I don't know, pancakes or something. And this pound cake, looks like a basic pound cake recipe to me. If you've ever made a pound cake, they're pretty simple. Although I've definitely screwed up a pound cake before. But you need 2 cups of softened butter, 3 cups sugar, 6 large eggs, 2 cups of self-rising all-purpose flour, 8 tablespoons milk, 2 teaspoons vanilla extract. Preheat the oven to 325 Fahrenheit. Grease a large loaf tin. Cream the butter and sugar together until light and fluffy. Add the eggs one at a time, beating well after each addition. Stir in the vanilla essence. Fold in the flour alternately with the milk. Bake for 1 hour and 10 minutes or until a toothpick inserted in the middle of the cake comes out clean. Cool in the tin for a while, then turn the cake upside down onto a cooling rack. Eat and enjoy. I love it too. I have one that's very similar to this. And the thing about pound cake is you can add like lemon to it, or you can add different flavors to it and have like lemon pound cake. And oh my god, don't get me started. I'm off the sugar thing again. My trip was like my one moment of weakness. I'm still not doing sugar. Although, am I going to have a beer later today? You betcha. That doesn't count, does it? It doesn't count, and I'm still doing bread. Chocolate pound cake. Oh my god. Do you put it in a loaf pan, or... Because when I make pound cake, I put it in a, like a tube pan. I've made like lemon poppy seed. Have you had like lemon lavender pound cake? That's delicious and an exciting and summery thing to have too. You could add anything. You could add rose. You use a bundt pan too? Yeah, they're saying a loaf pan, which I don't do. I use a bundt pan. I think if you did a loaf, it would be a little too dense and soggy in the middle. Anyway, well, guys, I think that is all I have. Thanks for coming. Thanks for talking about this. It was so good to read this book with you. I'm gonna put it back up on my mantle because I put like my really pretty cute books up on my mantle so they're not 3 books deep in my other shelves, so I have hardly any room anymore. What do you think about the Shakespeare idea? Are you for it? What do you ladies think? It's hard to read Shakespeare just one person. I mean, I'm willing to. I don't know if I'm the person to make Shakespeare fun and engaging for anyone, though. So it's one thing about talking with Dr. X is, I don't know, something fun and funny, maybe like Midsummer Night's Dream or Much Ado About Nothing, or how about a comedy? He said Hamlet. Hamlet. I have so many opinions about Hamlet, though. I've written so many papers, and like, I have a lot of feelings and opinions about Hamlet. And Hamlet is just controversial. There's a lot of controversial ones. I mean, they can all be controversial. Um, like maybe not. Let's maybe not read Merchant of Venice or Othello or some high drama. Romeo and Juliet. I have thoughts and feelings about Romeo and Juliet too. Mainly that Romeo is a player. It's not his best play. Also, the story is Romeo and Juliet. The story goes way back, and it was taken from. I think it was taken from. Is also an idiot, and they're all yeah. There's an old Arabic folk tale called Majnun and Layla. Um, it's basically the Romeo and Juliet story, and so Shakespeare definitely took artistic license and made it his own, but also kind of obvious that he took inspiration elsewhere from it. Um, Midsummer has a ton of characters, and there's so many moving parts and so much like happening, and it's also kind of funny, and there's the whole play within a play aspect of it, and then like the drama of the people and the drama of like the fairies. It's one of my favorite ones. um the Tempest. The Tempest might be one we read. I have a giant complete works of Shakespeare. I'll have to flip through and look, but if you guys are down, then I'm down. I might get My feelings might get the better of me with some of them, and almost all of them have movies that you can watch after you read the play and see how they were adapted and changed. Just like classic things. And when I read Shakespeare, it always makes me want to write a play, but I never have. But if you ever want to write dialogue too, it's good to dialogue, or like screenplays or scripts or anything. You've never seen Midsummer? It Okay. Well, it can maybe we should read that, and but you should know that it can go from like plain and simple, but you can also make it just this giant spectacle, because there's a ton of characters and lots of things going on, and it's almost overwhelming. So maybe not even the whole play, but like sections of it we can skip over, like boring parts. Anyway, thank you guys for coming. And I guess we'll plan on Shakespeare on Tuesday. And everyone have a wonderful weekend and enjoy yourselves. And I'll see you then, okay?